Hey everybody, welcome down to another episode of Those Nerds You Know. My name's Ethan.
I'm Eddy.
And we are Those Nerds You Know.
Hello.
And tonight, earlier this evening, we saw...
Death Cure.
The Death Cure.
I had to think about it for a moment.
Pause. Dramatic effect. We saw The Maze Runner, the
finale
Death Cure,
from
yes.
Maze Runner.
The final movie in at least this portion of the series.
Yeah, until they go back for a prequel.
Yeah, we get that hardcore prequel. But yeah, this was the end. This was the end of all of it.
Apparently.
Yeah, more or less. I mean, I have my questions about how they're going to continue with the group that they have, but whatever.
You know, they rebuild. They make a new life.
Something like that. So, let's get into it. So we open up, and we're in the desolate world of the Maze Runner, which is, for those of you who don't know, I don't know why you would listen to this if you haven't seen the other movies, who don't know at least what's going on, but the world is, humanity's basically been decimated by this virus.
Turns people into zombies.
Yes, definitely does. Plant zombie people.
28 days later, zombies.
Yeah. Well, until you eventually become a plant.
Yeah. A plant.
Yeah. So all the so you remember in the second one when they were in the sewers walking around?
God, it's been so long.
Okay,
It's
so
been like 4 years.
there's has it been that long?
I'm pretty sure it has. I know they paused in recording it because Mr. Dylan Thomas, or Dylan, is that his name? That's not Dylan Thomas. Main guy.
Talking about the main dude.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Well, anyway, he almost died.
What? Doing what?
Doing the train stunt that we see in the
really?
opening. Yeah, he almost died from that, apparently.
Oh my gosh.
I'm pretty sure it's Dylan Thomas.
Okay.
Let me check. Dylan Tom... No, that's not at all. That's a Welsh poet and writer.
I mean, Thomas is his character's
and that's why I think maybe it's Thompson? Nope, that's the football player. I don't know.
We got
What's
this.
His name?
We can do it. We'll eventually
We do
get
this
there.
all the time.
No worries. No
We're never
worries.
prepared.
We can do. I was literally just looking at the cast list. Like, I had it open and everything. Because I was checking on the girl that plays Brenda.
Dylan, I know his name's Dylan.
O'Brien.
Dylan O'Brien. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so anyway, he almost died during the train stunt that they were doing. I don't know exactly what happened, but he broke his leg or something really serious.
Sounds about right. Thomas Brody Sangster. That Thomas is the first name of Newt, the guy that plays Newt. Gosh, that's really odd. Sorry, guys. All right. So in this desolate world, that's right. We were talking about the plant people in the second one. Before they go into the sewers, I don't even remember where they were going or why they were doing this, but they were going down to the sewers, and I think it's Brenda makes the comment you should keep your guard up because they're going to be full term down here. So talking about cranks, people who've been infected with the virus, and eventually you claw out your eyes, you get these weird things that grow off of your body, kind of like the guy we saw in this movie that was
partially transformed.
Yes, into a plant. And they look like roots, and you can get it looks to me like Will Turner's dad, who's also named Will Turner, from the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Kind of like how he gets when he gets attached to the ship.
the what do you call those things?
Barnacles?
Yes, those barnacles, all over his face and stuff.
Yeah,
Jesus,
it reminds me of that when these the infected.
Oh, he suffered a severe head injury.
Wow, that sounds...
That they had to shut down for months while he recovered.
Yeah, that sounds no good.
Yeah, well, it was a crazy train stunt because he did it himself, apparently. But yeah, we open up to
I'm just glad he didn't die.
Yeah,
Jeez,
no,
that would have been horrible.
That would have been really bad.
Oh gosh.
But I did you read the series?
No,
you didn't read the books.
No.
Okay, well, I'm sure it goes into more detail. No, I didn't.
Okay.
I hadn't heard about
That's
it.
right. You read books.
That's true. I did. I do. I haven't. I don't anymore. I did for a while because I worked for 6 years at a bookstore.
Yep.
Which was fun, but yeah, no, it was a popular series. A lot of people bought the books.
Yeah.
I've sold it to a lot of people. myself personally. You're welcome.
Yeah, I imagine it's. I'm sure it did sell well because it's got these movies that are doing well. So, yeah, I wouldn't mind knowing if it's faithful to the book, but I'm kind of okay with not knowing. I think more often than not, I think David and I discussed this on our adaptations episodes. It's like sometimes I'd rather not know the source material.
Yeah.
And I'd rather get this adaptation first, and then I can go back and read the book if I want more information.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Sometimes reading it first can just kind of spoil things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the movie comes out years after the book has been written, usually, in most cases.
Well, no. I mean, like not spoil like plot details, but like spoil me as far as I learn I get this large view of this world, and then I have to go watch a movie that's someone else's vision of this world.
I see.
And it's usually shorter
and not
less
as good.
detailed. Debatable in some places.
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, everything's going to be debatable, but in the most part, they're not usually as good as the books.
Okay. Okay. Sure. We'll take that as
it's
fact.
just like, video game movies. Like, yeah. You'll never find a video game a video game movie that's better than a video game.
Gosh, that was also well. I think that's mostly just because video games typically are played not for their story elements, but for...
We'll take that as fact, blah, 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 blah. But on that note, Nintendo actually just announced that they're doing a Super Mario movie with
sweet.
Illumination, the people who made
cool.
the Minions and Despicable Me.
Despicable Me.
Yeah.
Cool.
Should be okay. Like, Illumination's good at creating... And Miyamoto's going to be like producer, so he's going to have a heavy hand in it, of course.
Sweet.
Which it's kind of because he's ruined a couple of things he's touched recently.
But it doesn't it just sounds like that's how they would go about it anyway. They usually keep things pretty close to them.
But anyway, the world of the Maze Runner.
Indeed.
It's pretty desolate.
Yeah, it's pretty crap, and we've got children, or we've got a generation that is now immune to the virus, who at this point in the story are late teens probably. But it's based off teen fiction novels. All the main characters are teenagers, and all these kids who are immune to the virus have been thrown into, in the first book, they're thrown into a maze, and they're basically treated like cattle by this company called Wicked in order to get their bodies to produce antibodies to the virus. Why they can't just, pull blood samples occasionally and try to do that, I don't know. Apparently they need to be in really stressful situations for them to produce the proper antibodies or whatever it is.
It's curious.
Which is strange.
That they didn't test Thomas's blood like before putting him in there or anything like that. Yeah, going further into the plot, I'm like, wasn't he put in there because he was immune? Why didn't they try out the blood then? But this is later.
Well, that's the other thing that I'm thinking about is maybe these, and that the book might be able to produce more information on, is that maybe these people, maybe those who are immune or who they assume are immune, because again, until this movie, as far as the movies go, we didn't really know that it was airborne.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering how they would have even known that they were immune in the first place. So I assume the maze and all those things were to test to see if they really were immune.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Because apparently one of them wasn't.
Right.
That was part of the group.
Was not, yeah.
Which was weird as well, I think. I was like, you probably should have been showing signs a little bit before getting into
I think he got cut.
He might have.
Because again, the thing wasn't really airborne until this movie, more or less, and so I think it had to. Prior to this, the disease would have had to have entered you through some kind of wound, or something of that nature, I guess, or some bad meat. I don't know, like in Zombieland. Anyways, regardless, we're at this point where so many things have happened that, again, if you haven't watched the first two movies, you should do that and then go see this film. But the general basis is we've had a group of kids break out of the maze to avoid being killed by monsters and in order to stay alive. They've then done their best to combat Wicked, to find a group of people to stick with, because Wicked captures them again once they get out of the maze. And so they broke out of Wicked again in the second one, and they've essentially just been trying to find a way to take down Wicked and not be lab rats anymore. All while more or less ignoring the fact that the whole world is dying. Yeah.
As it happens in most dystopian novels.
Yeah.
It's like the world's gonna die.
Yeah, this is true. And we get to a point now where one of the members of the team has turned traitor on the others and gone back to Wicked. Meanwhile, also allowing one of their close friends in the group to be captured by Wicked and experimented on. And so the basic plot of this film is everybody wants to go, or a few of the teenagers want to go into the last city on Earth, this big city with big old walls and stuff, super high-tech city, to rescue their friend, more or less to rescue their friend. Eventually they also end up shutting down Wicked, but it was initially just to get their friend, to get out of there, and go back to this colony of people that they found that want to start a new immune, crank-free society. Mm-hmm. And that's cool. And then we get into all kinds of other nonsense that happens, and twists and turns and heartaches and stuffs.
And surprises around every corner.
Yeah, definitely. So we open up, and they're doing the train stunt that you mentioned, where they're trying to capture. They've been shipping kids around. Wicked has been shipping kids around in these big trains and these just tied to chairs inside of these carriages in trains. And so they attack a train. The good guys attack the train and manage to very incredibly pull the whole car off the track, fly away with it, hoping that Minho is in there, their friend. Mm-hmm. Turns out he's not, but they still single-handedly save like 50 kids, which is cool. They then go back, and at this point they're like, okay, we have to go back for Minho, but the group that main character is Thomas, and the group that Thomas is with doesn't really want to go back for just the one kid. So Thomas breaks off with Newt and other guy. What's that black guy's name?
I have no idea. It's weird how bad guys in movies always have terrible shots, though, because they didn't land one at all with all the barrage of bullets that were coming at them.
That's true. I was certain someone was going to die at the train scene.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking that,
but
too.
No one.
Nope. Nobody got shot once, except the bad guys. Stormtroopers in disguise.
Okay. I guess the actor's name is Dexter. What the frick is the character's name? Doesn't list his character name. That's so dumb.
Oops. There's probably going to be a lot of banging.
It's okay. That wasn't loud at all. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Just deal with it. Anyway.
Yeah, deal with it.
He teams up with Newt and Thomas, and they go out through a very stressful point. They're trying to get to the city, and they make their way there, and there's a stressful moment where they drive through a tunnel, which I would never do in this world.
Right?
I would just drive over the mountain.
Or around
just take your
fine.
four-wheel drive and just go over the hill. It's so I think the second one for me is a lot more tense or stressful than this one was.
Yeah.
This one was tense all the way through, but in the second one, there's so many cranks. They don't really introduce cranks in the first one. Mm-hmm. There's like one person that goes kind of nuts after they get stung.
Yeah.
But we don't really get to learn about what that really is or means. And so there's so much running from zombies in the second one, and it's so stressful. And I watched it twice in theaters, and I was still stressed the second time. It's like, even though I knew everything was going to happen. So they drive through a tunnel full of cranks, and that was very stressful. But through doing that, we get reintroduced to two characters that come along with them to help them. And that is, what is that guy's name? It's Brenda and
his the black guy's name is Dexter Darden.
Right, is that
his character's name is Fry Pan.
That's what I was thinking of. Thank you, Fry Pan. Jorge, Jorge and Brenda show up to rescue Frypan, Newt, and homeboy Thomas. They get through that. They go to the city, and so the nice, super clean, futuristic city is surrounded by a wall, which is surrounded by a dead city, basically, like another.
As you do in dystopian novels, separate the upper class from the lower class. Yep, obvious separation.
But goodness gracious, so they then get down to the city, where there's unrest. There's a bunch of people who are probably infected. There's a bunch of people trying to get into the city, but they're not letting anyone into the city because they're being real strict about the security because they don't want nobody infecting everybody.
And then a rebellion rises up.
Yeah, yes.
As you do.
Indeed. And these guys in masks show up and they take Thomas and all of his buddies and they're like, hey, we're your friends. And we realize that one of the guys in this group is, what was his name? Gally?
Mm-hmm.
From the first one, who we presumed dead. So that was cool.
Yeah. I hate his eyebrows. Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
His eyebrows aggravate me so
much. I love
like permanent scowl on his face.
Yes. After the first movie, one of the most searched things was like the kid with eyebrows from the Maze Runner. It was so funny.
That's hilarious.
I loved seeing that. It was, oh gosh. Yeah, he's got...
Will Poulter is his name.
He's got nuts eyebrows.
And his face is weird. Like, it's not just his eyebrows. His face is like... His eyes are too far apart, and like his cheeks are really thick, and like... Yeah, that's him. I Googled that's him, right?
The kid with eyebrows. And he's the first thing.
The kid with eyebrows.
Yes, it's so funny.
It comes up. First result.
He's the first thing to show up.
That's hilarious.
That's great. Oh my gosh. Oh, anyway, he shows up.
He does have eyebrows.
Yeah, he's got them. He's got them real hard. So he shows up and he's like, hey, I can get you inside the walls. And they meet with the eccentric leader of the rebellion, who later on goes out in a crazy awesome way.
Which was weird. He was like, screw it.
Yeah. Yeah. So he seems to be infected with the virus, but for somehow, some way, I guess maybe his brain was immune, but the rest of him wasn't. I don't know.
Well, he was taking the serum. It was slowing down the progress.
I guess that's true. Yeah,
virus.
He did have that IV.
And he was almost out of it, so...
Gotcha. That makes sense.
That's why Thomas was like, I can get you some more.
I can get you time, Okay, so that does make sense, yeah. So he was taking the serum to keep himself from turning into a crank, but it was still mutating his body, breaking him down. He looked nuts. He looked really uncomfortable.
Yeah, and very gross.
Yes. Anyways, he quote unquote gets him into the city. Essentially, he's just like, here, these are the tunnels you take to get into the city.
I allow you passage.
Cool. So they do that, and it's from here on. It's basically a series of them trying to figure out how to get into the building, where they're keeping Minho and several other kids, and where Teresa, who's the one who turned on the group, is helping them study and research a cure. And we find out the way they're kind of torturing Minho is they're putting him through hallucinations, more or less, of the maze and of all these really, really stressful things. And they're like, it's not as good as the maze, but it's all right. And so, which was what makes me think, okay, obviously there's some element of terror and adrenaline that must go along with them having to find a cure, which
produce the antibodies.
Nuts. Yeah, I don't even know how you would come to that conclusion. Like how you would be like, you know what, we put them in a maze and create spider monsters. It's like those things. How much did it cost to engineer those crazy monsters?
Lots of monies.
Anyways,
but they had lots of money, so why not?
They do. They basically had every money
left. Scare the
left.
Children.
Yeah. So that's crazy. But so they're doing that, they're putting him through hallucinations so they can get the serum out of him. And we just saw this thing, so it's still settling in my mind. But I like a lot. There's a lot of heart in this movie. There's a lot of comeuppance. A lot of people get what's coming to them, which is typical in your final installment.
Yeah.
I think there are less deaths than I was expecting on the good side.
Mm-hmm.
And the somewhat good side. But yeah, anyway.
Where you could have Hunger Games and everybody dies.
Yeah, everybody died. And it's just like, wow. Then you have like Rogue One, where literally dies. Like, spoilers, I guess. Go see it. So yeah, at this point, they're just trying to figure out how they can get into the building, and they're like, we'll use Teresa. So they capture her, they talk with her. I don't know how.
Well, going back to the maze thing, putting the guy back in the maze. You went to the restroom at this point, but they injected this little girl who was infected with the hypothetical cure,
right?
And she still turned, so that wasn't working.
Yep, that did not work. I really like Minho. It was so sad to see him go through all that crap.
Yeah.
Goodness, he's really cool. He's been cool since the first one.
Mm-hmm. But they take Teresa back down to their little lair, their rebellion lair, and she removes the trackers in the backs of their necks.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then she seems to go for a scalpel, but Mr. Galley was like, nope.
Eyebrows.
Yeah, Mr. Eyebrows. And then we could see her swiping like the blood clot bag from.
The important thing, yeah, because what she noticed, she noticed Brenda, because she knew Brenda had been infected, and Brenda looked very, very healthy, and she was
after a few months, she knew was
when's the last
impossible.
time she was treated? It was like the last time you saw her, and she's like, she should be turned, like she shouldn't be healthy at all, and so that's when she realizes that Thomas's blood likely has the cure in it.
Spoilers alert. Oh my god, who would have thought that the main character was the Jesus of the movie? Oh my god.
Not me. Anyways, so we then begin the process of essentially sneaking a small crew into the building. It's also around this time, slightly before this, that we learned that Newt is infected, which was horrifying to note.
Which is weird.
And I was like, dang it.
I assumed
they were going to get him cured.
Yeah, I think
that he was gonna be fine.
Dylan was going to, or not Dylan, I keep wanting to call him Thomas would have like fed him some of his blood or something to save him.
Yeah.
But no, he dies.
No, it's so sad.
Because I thought like
that was such a sad part of
this is how I thought that scene was going to play out. So near the end, and I'm skipping ahead a bit, but
that's fine.
I just have to get it out while it's on my mind.
Yeah. I'm okay with that.
Thomas and Newt are fighting because Newt is changing into a crank. And he, at one point, Newt like pulls the knife out of his utility belt, and he tackles Thomas down to the ground and like stabs him a little bit to get the blood on the knife. And then I thought that Thomas was going to turn it around, which he did, kind of. And I thought he was going to get stabbed. Newt. I thought Thomas was going to stab Newt with that blood on the tip, and it would be like, oh, he's cured. Nope, didn't work.
Nope, he just straight up died.
That would have been so much better.
Gosh. Yeah, I don't know.
No, he gets stabbed in the heart and then dies.
Yeah, that was rough.
That scene. I was so upset about that scene. I was like, they could have done something.
That was sad.
Just transfer a little bit of blood. Make it all better. It's fine.
Well, I mean, people gotta die, though. It's the end. Kudos for killing people. You have to.
Yeah, I suppose. But
you do. The last book in Twilight was lame because the author didn't have...
Wait, you read Twilight?
Shush. The author didn't have the cojones to actually have a fight. Have you read it?
I read... up to Eclipse. I didn't read Eclipse.
That's a good... okay. Well, no, Eclipse is the best one to read. You should read that. It's also the best movie, I think. Or makes for the best movie.
Regardless.
The
third book opens up with like a tear-stained page from not Taylor. Wolf Guy. And I was like, I'm not reading. I'm so agitated about that. It's like, this is so sad and ridiculous.
The end of that one, or the end of Twilight, the last book, they're just essentially the two sides come together on this battlefield and they just stare one another down and they kind of talk for a bit and then they're like, okay, bye. And that's it. That's how the series ends. There's no actual fight. No one gets
completely anticlimactic.
No one dies. Exactly. I'm like, this is when we settle things. This is when people die. This is when stuff has to happen. But the author just didn't want to go
Stephanie
there. I
Meyer.
guess I'm just like, why? Why not? Like, kill some people. There's no closure here. It was weird.
Yeah.
It was super weird. Anyway, so that's why I say, good authors finish things up, they kill people, they get things done, and they give you
I don't know
an
if I
ending.
agree with that.
I
like,
super
you
agree
can
with
be a
that.
good author and not kill your characters, but
No,
Stephanie
you can't.
Meyer's not a good author. Like, you give a poor example at this point.
Look, but it's a peer. It's also a teen fiction novel.
Yeah, and it's
And
a war.
Arguably one of the ones that's kicked off this whole teen fiction thing in the first place. You can say Harry Potter did it, but I wouldn't say Harry Potter's in the same league as any of them.
I don't know. Hunger Games came out before The Maze Runner.
No, I'm not saying Maze Runner started it. I'm saying Twilight started it.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh no, I'll agree with that. I thought you meant Maze Runner. I'm
No.
like, it wasn't that
This is
popular.
what- no. Twilight did that nonsense.
It was that popular, but it's like not Twilight popular, or Hunger Games popular for that matter. Like Hunger Games
also
is far
true.
more popular.
I'm glad this, but I like this series. I prefer this series. I think over whatever you just said.
Hunger Games.
There you go. That's the
I don't know. I didn't read any of the books because teen fiction.
And reading, gosh.
And reading.
Who does that?
Yeah, books. But I have to say I did like Hunger Games a bit more than The Maze Runner.
Okay. That's fine. I think I get more. The Maze Runner's movies are more stressful for me, and thereby make me a little bit more invested in the
I
characters.
see.
So, regardless, I think this movie's really cool.
Where were we?
So, I don't know where we were. They get into the building, right?
Oh yeah. Right.
Teresa gets them in, and this happens pretty early on that they get into the building. So at that point, I was like, okay, we gotta strap in. They're gonna be in this place shooting people for a long time. And that's what this is a 2.5 hour long movie, by the way.
God, was it that long?
It's 2 hours and 23 minutes, I think, is the runtime.
God,
Yeah,
it's such a long movie.
it's a very long movie.
I guess that's a good sign. I didn't realize it was that long. But...
Right, because it's nonstop. Like
Yeah.
that's I give the credit to these movies is like there's a little bit even in this one there's a couple moments where people are talking that are a little bit slow, but it just doesn't last long. They just go. They keep going. Especially the second one. Gosh, the second one was so stressful. But they don't slow down. These movies just go, 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 and that's a lot of fun. It's really cool as a viewer to experience that. And at this point, so they're in this movie. This movie does tense things really well. So even when people are just talking, I was always like, "Who's going to die? Someone's going to die. Something's going to happen." They stay on those violins in the whole movie.
Yeah,
I'm
they
like,
do. All the strings.
Yes. And anyway, we get in. We get all the kids out, but even when we get all the kids out, we don't find Minho.
Yeah.
Which again, the whole point of this movie was to find Minho.
Yeah.
The whole point of their plan from the beginning. They didn't find him in the first place. Now they haven't found him in the second place.
It's like, oh well, we'll just save all these children instead.
Yeah, I guess.
Which they do twice instead
Yeah.
of finding Minho.
Yep, that's true. Freaking kids. But that's fine. Get kids. They also get the serum that's necessary for keeping the infection at bay within people.
Mm-hmm.
Pull out some of that.
Until they find the death cure, which is Dylan Thomas. And,
yes.
Dylan O'Brien.
They pack all the kids in a bus with Battle Angel Alita, and I'm just Brenda is who she is, but she's the one who plays Battle Angel Alita, which I've just connected before we sat down for this.
And then they go for a ride.
They super do. So she drives this bus through
A
town.
very unrealistic
Oh yeah,
ride.
super. Like there was action that was harder to believe, I think, in this movie than previous movies. But
I mean, even the train one was believable because you're being lifted by an aircraft that is futuristic.
yes,
But neither of these things were futuristic. You have a
Nope.
forklift. Well, not a forklift. It's
you have a crane.
A crane.
So they pick up a bus with a crane. Pick up a bus full of kids with a crane.
Yeah. And it's straight up and down.
Yeah, the bus.
It's
The
being
bus would have
lifted
been
into the air.
That bus would have been swaying.
It was a regular bus.
would have
It was a
been-
regular crane.
Yes.
Nothing would have held together.
No.
That was hilarious to me. I was like, oh my
Yeah.
god, those children are gonna be like
That was very strange.
in a hospital for a long
Oh
time.
man.
But they were
Anyways,
fine. Everybody was fine.
I mean, the bus did get banged up. Like, it was not. It was a very close call, as everything in these movies is. Yeah. That was nuts.
I was saying in the theater, I was like, oh, there's one concussion. Oh, there's another concussion.
Yeah. No airbags deployed when that thing got dropped. Not one. Not even the driver.
Oh,
Nothing.
boy.
Yeah, that was nuts. Then we flash from that point when they drop the bus on the other side of the wall. We go from that point to all the kids and Battle Angel Alita back in their like base of operations. And what was his name? Fry
Fry pan.
Pan. Yeah. Fry Pan was just with them. He just showed up back with them.
Yeah, you know.
When he was in the crane, he was in the cockpit of the crane, was just still well on the other side of the wall. And I'm like, how did you jump? It's not like I imagine he would have gotten out of the cockpit, run down the long shaft of the crane.
Yeah,
and then maybe like
rope down the
down the
chain.
chain.
I thought that too.
But the chain wouldn't have reached all the way to the ground at that point.
That's true.
So I'm like, what happened? Anyways, nah.
You know, plot holes, whatever.
Anyway.
It's fine.
Maybe he just fell straight into the tunnel and
Maybe.
popped up on the other side. Could have done it. I'm sure he could have done it. Maybe there's a scene we didn't see. Maybe there's a scene that got left on the cutting room floor. Whatever. Anyways, and so at that point they realize, or they're on the other side of the wall when the rebellion sort of happens, because part of the deal of this the infected guy who was leading the rebellion, getting Thomas and all of them into the wall, was them getting him access to their computer systems or whatever.
Yeah.
So that he could turn off the
Giant Gatling guns.
turrets that are just pointed out of the wall
at the people.
The people, yes, at this town.
At the poor citizens.
And it is, yeah. So they got those turned off. So the only thing that they had was the guys with their rifles at the top of the wall.
Tons of fertilizer and gasoline.
Yes. So he just rides this truck full of fertilizer
and explosives.
He lights up a flare, and they just drive it into the wall.
Yeah.
And he just blows up that wall, and it falls down, and then everybody can pour. All the Titans can come into the town, and it's crazy. So. Yes, so they witness that and they're like, "Oh, this is much worse than we anticipated."
Oh yeah, because they got rocket launchers and stuff.
Yeah, so essentially, what was a covert operation to get kids out of being tortured in this building in this city turns into a war zone between
the rich and the poor.
The rich and the poor. Yeah, essentially that's what it is, and it just complicates their escape even further. Mm-hmm. So there's a bunch of things that happen with their escape, getting out of the building. Teresa gets to actually test Thomas's blood. She starts talking to him, trying to convince him to stay. We see, was it Jason? He calls him Jason, right? That's the bad guy, right?
Oh, that's
cut guy.
I call him Littlefinger in my mind because he's from Game of Thrones, and his main character. Like, his character is Littlefinger, and that's all I know him by, because he plays the exact same character as in the Death Cure.
Fantastic.
And I'm like, Littlefinger, you're being Littlefinger right now.
Jansen, not Jason. Jansen.
Yeah. But yeah, he's the same way in Game of Thrones.
Walton Goggins. Okay, so this was the crazy guy. Walton Goggins plays the messed up.
Infected guy.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember where I knew him from.
If you're on IMDb, it'll show you what else he's played.
No, it's just hold on, I'm almost there. But I've seen this man. I've seen him all the time.
You've seen him all the time.
Where he is from, what you is do. Let's find him again. Walton Goggins.
He's not bad looking without all that makeup on. He's from Justified, The Hateful Eight, Predators. Let me see.
There's something that is apparently in Tomb Raider. He's in the new Tomb Raider.
That's good. Good to see him.
He'll be in Ant-Man and the Wasp. What have I seen? I haven't seen a lot of the movies you've mentioned.
Have you seen Django Unchained?
No.
Because he was in Django.
G.I. Joe Retaliation? Probably seen him in that.
He hasn't been in too many, like, really big things.
Cowboys and Aliens, I'm probably thinking of that. I have seen that movie.
Maybe. He's in The Bourne Identity. Jeez, he goes way back.
I probably saw him in The Bourne Identity, too. Yeah, he's just one of those bad guy faces.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he might not be a bad guy in all these things, but yeah, he definitely looked.
Well, he wasn't a bad guy in this one either. Well, I mean,
yeah.
arguable, but
He was a questionable guy.
he was the neutral party,
right? But he died to incite a rebellion, so
gracefully in a billow of flames.
He went out like a boss. I liked it. What's next? So yeah, they're. Oh, and there's a lot of tension between Jansen and what's her bucket? The other, the like, the older lady who kind of heads Wicked.
Yeah,
when they had that conversation and when she was talking about basically just giving up.
Yeah. I've never seen you give up before.
Yeah, like I was like, someone's gonna die.
Yeah,
I was waiting for someone to like knife someone.
He's gonna kill her so hard. Because that's Littlefinger. I mean, that's what Littlefinger does.
Which he does, but not in that scene.
Yeah.
They played me for a fool. She got shot later.
Mid
sentence.
I was expecting it too. I saw it. I was like, okay, they're like making up and stuff, and like here it comes. I'm waiting for it. Boom.
I was not waiting for that. Good night. Any hoozles, but that's jumping ahead, I guess.
I was like, she's either gonna kill Thomas, or she's gonna die.
Oh man. I didn't think she would kill Thomas, especially because I think she was the one. She was like the only other person who realized before Teresa made her announcement to the city that Thomas's blood had the cure in it.
Yeah.
What were we doing? Right. So they're in the building. Teresa kind of helps them more or less escape, or buys them some time. They find Minho. There's a whole lot of shooting and
Lots
grenades and for as many misses, several people do get shot.
And just random anti-aircraft guns, like on the streets. I'm like, okay, you got those from somewhere.
Yep,
Where'd
definitely.
you get those?
That's true. I mean, there's it's like dystopians always make me think, like, because a lot of them are just, especially the ones that we have and the ones that have been big. This one, The Hunger Games, and Divergent are all more or less based in the U.S. and they always make me think, like, what's going on outside of the U.S. Because we're not the only thing that exists on this planet.
Yeah, I think the biggest part about that, like, my mind is thinking of the Hunger Games. It's like there's Pan Am, the central capital area, and then there's 13 districts. It's like that's a very small area compared to the world.
Right, yeah, exactly. And,
I know what you mean. Exactly.
And even like, there's a dystopian series that sort of addresses it, called A Handmaid's Tale, which has a series now, which I won't watch because it's bleak and sad. It's like a more traditional dystopian where like, because teen fiction dystopian, I wouldn't mind chatting about this at some point, but like the key difference I see in a lot of teen fiction dystopian versus like other dystopians that I've either read or been exposed to is like this feeling of hope and change that exists in the teen fiction ones. So like, we can make things better, we can have a better world, and at the end of it there's usually a lot of bad things that happen and there's bittersweet stuff, but there's usually hope, and there's this thing where like, we get it, we beat the bad guys, and now we have a world we can live in that'll be better. Whereas in like traditional dystopians, it's just like, nah,
good luck,
sucks,
you got what you
gonna
got.
Suck forever. And it's just like but they kind of hint at that some in The Handmaid's Tale. There's mention of like tourists coming and seeing the way people live in this part of the world. which is a crazy thing. And then like you get to the end of the book and you're reading an epilogue that's essentially like even farther in the future with like a somewhat better or more civilized nation that's just been essentially your experience reading the book has been their experience listening to tapes of someone who survived through it.
Ugh. That sounds dreadful.
This is so dumb. It's just like, why?
It sounds actually terrible.
But yeah, I don't know. It's more of a commentary on sex and gender and things of that nature rather than actual more traditional dystopian. But whatever, that's fine. People like it. That's fine. I'm sure it's doing well. Maybe, I don't know.
I think people are a little tired of, or at least the teens are tired of the dystopian thing because the Virgin didn't do it well at all. Like, and I haven't. I mean, the Death Cure isn't doing that great.
Critics,
to be honest.
Critics don't really like the Maze Runner movies, but it seems to be all right amongst fans.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the second one. Gosh, what was I saying? Dystopianism and all that nonsense. Yeah. Yeah. No. Well, no. It's a good thing you mentioned that because, like, I think obviously things come in waves.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes, yeah. They're
so like when Twilight was first out, there was tons of like vampires.
Yeah, Hollywood has a theme, like a yearly theme. Well, not a yearly theme, like a movie section theme.
Yeah, I think not even in movies, but in books as well. Like when Twilight was big, it wasn't like the big genre in teen fiction was sort of fantasy and like fae type things. So there was plenty of vampires going around. There were plenty of like immortal kind of things going around, and plenty of like fairies and things of that nature popping around and that kind of stuff. And then slowly some dystopians started seeping into that. And yeah. And then we got.
But now we have
Hunger Games blew up, and
I think Ready Player One's going to be very successful, and I think there's going to be a wave of like video game stuff.
Yeah, probably. I think we're going to end up with like we're going to see in maybe possibly in teen fiction or in teen fiction movies we'll see maybe an influx of what the anime world experienced a couple years ago with all of the there's a word for that stuck in the video game kind of there's a word I can't remember it, but the anime world essentially saw this with Sword Art Online and then things like things similar to that, like Gate and other
and Overlord.
Oh, there's one that David loves, and he's gonna kill me because I can't remember the name of it. What is it called?
Or is it?
Oh my god!
No, I know this is gonna suck because I don't remember it either.
David, I love you. It's his favorite thing in this genre. What is it called? Mother of Pearl. It wasn't super popular, but it is apparently better. Oh my gosh.
I heard it was very boring, but
stuck in video.
Log Horizon.
Log Horizon.
Yeah.
Gosh, yes.
That's what it was.
There we go. Never mind. I don't need to Google that. Log Horizon, yeah.
Dot Hack was first.
It super was. And before that, we had Monster Rancher.
We did. That is true.
And technically, Digimon.
Technically. Well, Digimon was less of a video game and more of like the technology as a whole.
Well, kind of, yeah. Well, they were stuck in a digital world. They were stuck in the internet.
In a digital world. That's not games.
They were in the internet. Whatever. And then Monster Rancher, he was literally sucked into basically the video game Monster Rancher. Yeah. So, been around for a bit. It got real popular for a bit, and I think all of these things kind of bleed into and out of one another because I think when you look at the Venn diagram of teen fiction and anime, there's a good amount of people in the middle of it that do both, which is why like there are definite dystopian themes in Attack on Titan.
Oh yeah,
and I feel like that's definitely why that fed into why it was so popular and did so well. The other thing that I think, the other big thing we can see is that all of the superhero movies now are affecting superhero stuff in anime because it's just all over.
Yeah, no, you're right. Like My Hero Academia.
Yup.
Yeah.
One Punch Man. We're getting another season. I'm so excited.
Oh, it's gonna be so good.
And we're getting another season of My Hero, but
yeah, which in April, just super soon, surprised the crap out of me. It's like, what are y'all gonna do? It's like, oh, this is making money. Let's make some more of it.
Yeah, let's do that. I'm super okay with that.
I'm surprised One Punch Man's taken as long as it has.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Well, I think...
They didn't have a lot of material to go off of, to be honest.
I think there's that, and I think there wasn't a whole lot of funding for the first one.
Yeah.
It was just sort of I think it was just like a bunch of people worked on it as kind of a passion project, I think. And so, but I'm glad it's done as well, and I'm glad we're getting another one. Anyways, long tangent. Maze Runner. Death Cure. We essentially get to a point where Newt, Minho, and homeboy Thomas are trapped in a room. They decide to jump out of the window into some water.
Which was conveniently there.
Convenient and conveniently deep. Because it looked to me like it was just like one of those fountain things.
Yeah,
It was like
no,
2
it
foot.
totally was.
Yeah, no. But it was apparently like swimming pool deep, and they were able to not die, which is crazy. And then there was a tense moment again, but our friend saved him. Eyebrows. Because he still had his mask on, which is another thing. A lot of them took their masks off at some point, and I'm like, that's fine. If you want to be emotional, have a tense moment, take your mask off, that's fine. But keep your mask and put it back on later. No. You're like, what are you doing?
Like, you could have totally, like, escaped.
Yes.
More easily.
Much more easy.
Yeah. Like, they wouldn't have had... Well, they did jump out of a window, so they wouldn't have been able to get out of that without Eyebrows' help. But
Truth.
Other times, like escaping the city.
Yes.
Like, they could have totally...
Definitely would have been easier. Until the insurgents showed up. Because then they would have been dressed like the guys that all of them were fighting. So,
that is true. That's true.
Just,
it was a mess.
Anyway, it was definitely a mess. So we get to a point where Newt is just about to be crank, and we see that Jorge's come back. He's got his big helicopter thing. He's picked up all the kids from outside the wall. They're going back into the city to try and get Thomas and them. And so they have Eyebrows and Minho run ahead, because Minho's a really good runner, and they know that. And they're like, you run ahead, get the serum, bring it back so we can save Newt.
It would have been so much better had he been called Eyebrows instead of Galley, like, for the movie. Because that would have made everybody happy.
Would have made sense, too. Kids are mean.
But they're running.
But yeah, so they're running ahead to get that, and it just creates this really tense moment. Thomas tries to get Newt as close to the chopper as they can. While he's doing that, there's the announcement from Teresa. She's like, please come back, Thomas, you can save the whole world. And after that announcement, Newt stands up and he's crank. And they're like, no. And so they have a tussle, they have a fight that you mentioned. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it culminates in Newt trying really hard to fight his own
psyche.
Yes, and he has a gun to his head at one point, and Thomas swats it away, and then eventually it ends up with Newt stabbing himself in the chest. And just like right as they run up with the serum, and it was super sad because I like Newt a lot. It's great. And he got progressively more British as the movies went on.
He did, actually. I noticed that too.
Man.
You know, he was in Game of Thrones as well.
Is he?
Yeah.
That's fine. I bet you that's
dies,
a good show.
though.
Yes, everyone dies. It's Game of Thrones. There will be 3 people left. What are you going to throne over? I now rule all of everything. Myself and my 2 servants here. What do you... Anyways...
Ethan's never seen Game of Thrones.
I've not. Nope, I don't care to. Though this did make me want to watch the Shannara Chronicles, the new season.
I don't know what that is.
You don't need to.
Okay.
It's
awesome.
good. I enjoy it. It's also based off of a series of books that's also post-apocalyptic, but it fuses fantasy into it. It's kind of like humans more or less wrecked themselves, and in so doing awakened elves and orcs and all this kind of nonsense that brought on another war. And at this point, there are humans, there are elves, there are half-elves, and there are still orcs and trolls, and it's pretty desolate, but as long as you kind of stick to yourself and stick to the main elf areas, you're all right. And then there's essentially a magic overlord that's kind of like Sauron, you can consider, who sort of is resurrected and starts pulling up orcs and bad people again, trying to take over the world again. And Shannara is an elf. Is that the name? Or maybe Shinora's the name of the place. I don't know. Anyways, there's a couple of main characters that are really cool. I like the first series a lot. The first season's on Netflix, and the second season I think is done airing on MTV, but it might not be on Netflix yet. I don't really know. It's good. It's a good time. You ever watched Arrow?
No.
Okay, never mind.
I did just start watching Black Lightning though.
Oh, cool.
Which looks really cool. The only other CW show I've seen is iZombie, which is amazing. I love iZombie.
Good.
So I'll probably go back and see Arrow. Watch
Excellent.
Arrow.
There's a character in Arrow who becomes Deathstroke, and the guy who plays him plays another main character in the Shannara Chronicles, and it's really cool.
Is Shannara Chronicles an animated thing?
No, it's live action. Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
It's pretty neat. Watch it on Netflix. It's fun.
Okay, yes, sir. We'll do.
Then we can talk about that. But anyways, what's going on? Right, Newt turns.
Dude dies.
He dies, and then all the guys are sad, and Thomas is like, "I'm gonna go take care of business," and so he goes back to the building. That's when he talks with Homegirl. I keep forgetting her name, but it doesn't matter because she dies.
She does.
The wicked lady.
Yeah.
She gets killed by Jansen, and then we extract a little bit of serum out of Thomas through the help of Teresa, and it's revealed that Jansen is infected. That's why he's been so adamant about getting this stuff done. And he's just about to inject himself, and old girl clocks him over the head with a vase or something.
It was probably a beaker.
Yeah, big glass beaker, yeah. He falls to the ground.
And he's up like 2 seconds later.
Yeah, I was like,
whoa.
shenanigans. Like, he got up real fast.
That was bullcrap.
I'm like, this man, who is this? I kept thinking he was going to go crank at some point.
Yeah.
And that's what was going to happen. But no, he ends up dying by crank.
Yeah. I thought that was weird. Like, he popped up so quickly.
Yeah,
like,
I was like,
compared
what's going on?
to, someone who has been knocked out.
Resolve. Yeah.
With a glass beaker.
Yeah, and then there's a fight with him and Jansen, with Thomas and Jansen shows off his ability to fight, which is significant.
That was a good fight. Punching.
It was good, yes. It was a good punch-a-thon.
Yeah. It's got some good licks in there. I don't think either of them would have been standing after that.
No,
but,
it was hardcore. But so much adrenaline. He's been through the maze. Boy, he's tough. I really like the first. I'm going to go watch the first one again.
I did just recently rewatch The Hunger Games too, because I'd been playing PUBG, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds.
Oh,
which is a
that's
battle
what
royale.
That means. Gotcha. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Okay, but and I got the feel for that. I was like, I want to watch something like this.
Have you ever seen? Is it called Battle Royale?
The Japanese movie? Yeah.
I have not seen it. How is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's okay. It's all right. I mean,
is it based off of a manga or anime?
Yes,
okay.
It's based off of a manga, and
Gotcha.
I think that was originally a light novel or something.
Probably.
I don't know. Either way,
Speaking of
it was pretty good.
That's cool. There are other dystopian things in manga and anime too, like Dead Man Wonderland. And actually, they've had a pretty good run of dystopian sort of like sci-fi things. Ergo Proxy. I think Ultraviolet, there's a movie that was based off of an anime.
Yeah, which was like
Aeon Flux, I think, as well.
Yeah, that's what I was going for. I was like, oh, there's another one like that.
And then like Ghost in the Shell is more or less that.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy. Anyways,
and then there's another tense scene between Dylan and Thomas.
Yeah, right.
Homegirl and Littlefinger.
Right.
When he's walking around.
Yeah, he breaks into the lab where they're hiding, and that's when Thomas summons enough strength to throw some heavy object at the glass wall that's keeping the cranks at bay, and they
he's
jump
like, you
out.
missed your little...
Yeah. He's like, did I? I was like, yeah, get him.
You little asshole. I don't know what he said. He said something that was kind of forgettable, but kind of awesome at the same time.
Yes.
It's like, don't say those things. This is a kid's movie.
Is it?
No.
Definitely not. And then he gets eaten by cranks, and they make their way out. And I was like, oh, no.
Or does he? Ooh.
Oh, yeah. Well,
if not, the building
fell on him, yes. Spoiler alert. That introduced a whole other area of tension, because I was like, there's no way they're outrunning cranks. I really hope they don't get down with them really quickly.
I honestly expected Littlefinger or Jensen, whatever his name is, to like come out of the stairs like right behind them.
No,
like,
that's what I was expecting too. That's why I was so glad when like Flame shot. I was like, okay.
Like even then, it was like
cranks are crazy,
crank
but
on
they're
fire
not,
is even more.
I guess I don't know. Goodness gracious! And then yes, there's the rough scene where they're trying to get the chopper to.
Well, we assume that they're just like, oh, well, what are they going to do now? They're stuck on a roof with no way to go.
That's true.
Magical helicopter.
Helicopter shows up, and for whatever reason can't back up close enough to get them onto the thing.
Even though he did it multiple times.
Yes.
Like, he got close, then he boomed back, and he got close again.
Yeah, I call shenanigans. It was just.
I can't get any closer. Why?
Have someone propel down on a wire and grab them both and pull back
or
up.
like a rope or something, which
anything
would most likely be on such a vessel.
But no. Instead, Thomas gets out and Homegirl dies. Because I was like, no, they're gonna have Thomas die because he's dragging along. But I'm like, no, he can't die because he's the cure.
Yeah.
And they still need him, even though I don't know if they really need him. And then she dies, because I'm like, he has to survive because he's the cure, and she needs to survive because she's the doctor that can help get the serum and all that.
Yeah, I was like, how are they going to make the serum now? When I saw her falling, I was like, well, I hope there's a doctor on the
Well, that's the
island.
thing. There probably is, or at least there's a medic, but I don't know if there's anyone skilled enough to really make a serum anymore. They had one person that did that in the second one, but then she got shot. She got shot a lot and died from those shots.
What?
Yeah. And,
all they need is a centrifuge, just fine. And they'll just get some blood from Dylan. Just use this plasma, it's fine.
But so, Tom wakes up and he's on this island because they've taken the boat out to this island, which was their original plan, to escape Wicked. And it's all fine. Also, what's with this trope of people waking up from comas or whatever with no one around them?
Truth.
I'm like, surely they would have been.
He'll be fine.
Surely they would have been taking shifts watching him. Someone would have been there when he woke up. But no, he just wakes up in a foreign place, walks out. It's just an island.
Huh, it's a beach. Crazy.
Yeah.
It's not as bad as the Hunger Games, though, where she's just she passes out and then things happen. It's like, oh, you were asleep for 3 days. Do you know what happened in those 3 days? Nope. Why don't you tell me about it?
Yeah. Anyways, he's up and he still has his little thing of serum, and someone gives him the necklace that Newt gave him.
He was very adamant about him taking it too.
Yes.
Take it.
Yes. Well, but because obviously he started writing it when he noticed he was. Yeah. Well, the necklace contains a letter that he started writing, or that he wrote when he noticed that he was infected. Which is the sense that I got. Yeah.
It's like, whoa.
Well, they get
Thomas,
really emotional
take
when they're
his freaking
cranks.
necklace, Jesus.
Yeah. So he reads that, which is fun and emotional. Yeah. But the whole time I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, okay, most of the kids here are immune. That doesn't mean the adults here are immune. And we know the virus is airborne now. What if some of these people turn? We have the serum, but I don't see anyone with the injector. I don't know where they would get one.
Yeah, she took it out of the injector for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't even know why. It's
neither I. And then again,
I thought she was going to do the switcheroo. I thought she was going to be oh, you want this? You want, go get it. That would have been
nice, yeah.
And she had the serum. You know, the switcheroo like they normally do with things like that. In National Treasure.
Yeah. Always works.
But yeah. She took it out. Now he has it. It's how you going to get it in? Hope you have some syringes.
Yeah. That's one thing I'm just and then if they do, he's only got the one, so they'd have to find a way to make more.
Yep.
And we established we don't know if they do.
Desolate island.
Indeed.
With no equipment whatsoever.
Yep. And their resources have got to be limited.
Mm-hmm.
Just I'm just saying. I don't.
But they have a
this.
ship. They have a ship in the background.
I guess they could leave if they needed to. I don't see this going well. I see it lasting a few months, and then half the party's going to be like, nah, we're getting out of here. And okay. We got a whole other series at that point, so, yeah. Crazy.
The Maze Runner Part 2. Part 4.
overall, I'm fairly satisfied with this. Aside from those things I just mentioned, and aside from the fact that Newt is dead.
And Teresa.
Yeah.
And Lab Lady.
I mean, Lab Lady had it coming. Teresa probably had it coming, although I would have been all right with her not dying.
Yeah. I mean, she made up for it in the end. Like, kind of.
Newt shouldn't have died. But, I don't know. I'm glad Minho didn't die. That would have pissed me off.
That would have been
I would
pretty
have been
bad.
so
Like,
angry.
oh, well, your ultimate goal has been failed.
Yeah.
What do you do now?
Man. But yeah.
It was alright. It was an alright series. Not the best, but
I think it
not
was the
the
greatest series in the world. No, but I enjoyed it. I'd say go see it, especially if you've already seen the other two.
Yeah,
It's worth finishing.
if you like the Hunger Games, then it's something to watch as well.
Yeah. If you like...
It's very Hunger Gamesy. Because, dystopian teen novel.
Yeah. If you like absolutely crazy dystopian, that's what this is. Like, this is... Hunger Games, I mean, they're all...
Come on.
All the teen fiction ones are just kind of freaking bonkers. Because they all take this... They all lead up to this moment where a leap in logic is taken to an absolute extreme. Like... The Hunger Games.
Overpopulation. Killed kids.
Let's have kids fight each other and let's televise it. And like
For our entertainment.
and I'm like, goodness gracious, what's going
Yeah,
on?
that's pretty crazy.
And then this, let's throw kids in a bunch of mazes full of spider monsters to get a cure, because that's how we get cures. And I'm like, what is going on?
I don't know what Divergent was. I don't know anything about Divergent.
Divergent. So I've read the first book and seen the first movie. I've not finished the series in either form, book or movie.
Probably not going to, huh? 'Cause it's...
I might watch the movies. Or read the books. I don't know. The book, I really enjoyed the book, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I thought it was I thought the movie was a decent adaptation. They made a couple of cuts that I think were necessary in order for it to be a movie length and still be good. However, the one thing I don't like about the movies is, so there's an antagonist in the film in the books who's like another one of the kids. Okay, so do you know anything about the
I have
Divergent? Okay.
nothing.
In the
whatsoever.
Divergent series,
Like,
the
I don't
way
even
they
remember that.
decide to combat, so like they live in the society after a fallen United States and presumably a fallen world, where they're like, the only way that we're going to prevent ourselves from falling down again is to put people into these classes, and have these classes. You pick one when you're small, when you're younger, and when you do that, that class becomes basically everything to you. It's your family. If you're in a different class than your family is, you leave that class. All this nonsense. And there's...
So it's Team Hunger Games.
There's the... kind of. But they don't fight each other. There's a society of very pious people that are sort of like monkish almost. So like they give up worldly things and stuff like that. And they're charged with running the government. They're like, we're going to give the government to people who are not pursuing worldly things and are not blinded by
Corruptible and things like that.
Then we have people in charge of education, the erudites, or I don't even know if I'm saying that right, but those are if you join that group, you're a group that's specifically dedicated to study and learning things and trying to progress science and technology and things of that nature. And then there's the Dauntless, which are the military group, and there's another one, it might have been called Amory or something like that are like caretakers more or less, usually presumed to be very selfless people, and they take care of other people, and there's like your doctors and your medical professionals and things of that nature.
You have the farmers.
Yeah, and I guess them, yeah, that's probably either another group or that part of that group, actually. And then the whole thing about it is that the main character, they have this way of, they put you through this test when you're in high school, more or less, that sort of shows you, is designed to tell you
Which group you
belong in. But occasionally there are people who
fit in all of them, or none of them.
None of them. That's it. That's where the term divergent comes from.
Okay.
The main character is divergent because she doesn't have a class.
She's a sixth person. She's a sixth class.
It simply is. She has the ability to choose now.
Oh.
And she chooses the Dauntless. So she leaves her family that's in
That was boring.
the pious one, and she chooses to be in the military, which is convenient because if you're divergent, it also means
You're special.
you're immune to a certain drug that they've been developing in tandem with these tests to mind control people. So the erudites have been developing this thing to essentially enslave all of the Dauntless, which is the military force, so that they can control the economy and all that nonsense. But she's immune to that, as well as a couple of other people, and she sort of helps lead this
She started a rebellion.
insurgents against
Oh my god.
them. That's where insurgent comes from. And then it's
And then they all come together in Allegiant.
it's really convoluted, and from what I gather from watching trailers and synopses of these, is that like her whole society was an experiment by an outward society. So sort of like her society was basically like a maze for the Maze Runner. You know, do you get what I mean?
I see. Okay, I got you. That's a good analogy.
Crazy is what I think. I think that's the reveal in the final one, but I haven't seen it and I haven't read it, and I might eventually.
I think I know what happens in the end, like, because I think somebody spoiled it at the bookstore.
Will you just hold on to that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Dystopianisms. But yeah, like all of these teen fiction ones are just like nuts. Like there's this level of absolute absurdity to them.
They are quite absurd.
Crazy. Yeah. Because I mean, like Attack on Titan, yeah, of course you're going to build humongous walls around your cities because you have giants that are eating people. That's how you're going to go about doing it.
But what if they start appearing within the walls?
Boo! Yeah, and so I haven't seen season 2 yet. Is it good?
It's all right.
Okay.
It's...
Should I read the manga, Eddie?
No, definitely not, actually. Don't read the manga. The manga is boring as hell. Jesus. I think you've asked me this before. Have you asked me this before?
I don't think I have specifically.
Because that was a weird reaction.
Because I don't know anyone. I don't think I know anyone who's really read the manga.
I mean, I read the manga for a little while, like just to see what happened after the first season, because I was really curious.
Leaves you with a lot of questions.
Like, what the crap? So I started reading, and I kept reading, and then I was like, no. I'll just wait for the anime. Because in the season 2, I think they rearranged some events that happened in the manga to make more sense than it did in the manga, which is great, because it flowed a lot better in the anime.
That makes sense. That is one good quality that you'll have about movies or anime, is that they can take a more critical look at their source material and be like, is this
crap?
Is this the best way to present this really good idea? Maybe it's not. Let's do it in a different way.
Because I'm pretty sure like something happened, like the next chapter in the manga that was revealed in season 2, like at the end of the season. Like, so I was like, that was really good, because like right after season 1,
good idea to save it.
Yeah, and just in the time period, because most of what season 2 is in the manga is kind of like a flashback, or like flashbacks of things that are progressing. But in the anime, they actually like did that instead of flashbacking.
Right.
So
gotcha.
They did the events, and then where the manga picked up is like where the end was. Gotcha. It's kind of confusing, but
surely
it made sense. Season 2 is good. I mean,
cool.
They did it. It's much better than the manga, in my opinion. But,
okay, I'll probably watch it.
Yeah. It's good, and music's good. They do a lot of callback to the music in the first season, and they update it and they make it better.
The theme song for the first part of that first season is just so iconic.
Oh yeah.
My first experience with Attack on Titan, the anime, was like in a viewing room at San Japan.
Yeah, I remember you telling me.
I remember sitting down and they played the intro, and at the part where he yells Jaeger, everyone in the room yelled Jaeger with it, and I was like, what's going on? It's a cult! It's a cult! And yeah, good reason. It's a good show.
It was pretty good.
Anywhoozles, I think that about does it. Does you have more to say?
No.
Oh.
I don't want to talk to you people.
It was a good.
No, I'm just kidding.
It's a good movie. You should go see it. It's a fun time.
Mm-hmm. It's okay. Don't listen to critics, because critics are giving it low scores. It's not as low as they're giving it.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd agree.
It's like at a 45% on Rotten Tomatoes right now.
If I had to rate the movies, I probably like the Scorch Trials the most, and then the first one, and then this one. But that's not to say that any of them are bad. I think they're all really good.
I'll agree with that.
That's where they sit in my mind, though.
Scorch Trials was really good.
It was really fun. Freaking Alan Tudyk shows up. Alan Tudyk. Man's everywhere. Yeah. So, you can find us everywhere. You can find us on Twitter. We are at TMYKPod. You can find us on YouTube, on Facebook. You can get the pod on Podbean, iTunes, Google Play, CastBox, Stitcher, various places like that. And if you feel like dropping us a line via email, we are thosenerdsyouknowpod@gmail.com. But yeah, that's about it. Hit us up. Let us know if you like this series. Let us know how you feel about dystopian. Give us your ranking of your favorite teen dystopian things, or what dystopian stuff maybe you like in anime. Tell us about it. Let us talk about it. But anyway, that's it. My name's Ethan.
I'm Eddie.
And we are Those Nerds You Know. Bye!